So I was saying that my teacher, Swami Vishnudevanji, said about love, that we all can share and live together, Catholic, Protestant, Jew, Arab, white, black, all of us, we can live together, eat together, speak together. We can live our life in a very universal way. And this is called universal love. So now the idea is we need to really think about this. Is peace of mind leads to love. Yeah, if we want the happiness from love, but we don't have peace of mind, then we cannot find love. Happiness comes from love. However, true happiness is not temporary and emotional, and is not the satisfaction of desire, but the fulfillment of our soul, longing to be united with the Supreme. We need to have peace of mind and have self-knowledge in order to experience love. By finding peace within ourselves, we find love. Yoga is a science to find peace. That's why we need to practice yoga. So what is love? Love is oneness. So oftentimes we have that romantic idea of love, but now I try to define and show different aspects of love. Love is oneness, union, unity, yoga. So all the humanitarians in all countries talk about our shared humanity. These days we hear it a lot, shared humanity. That means what? That means that we are one on the planet. In time of crisis, we're united in our efforts and prayers. So everyone has been praying these days. In these times, we look at the World Health Organization statistics and we cringe. We're not happy. No matter from which country we are from, infected or not by the virus. So to date, it is said that 413,467 people get infected from coronavirus, and is spread in 197 countries. Yesterday, I just saw the statistics, with a death toll of 18,433. So someone said, the virus reminds us that we are all connected, that something that affects one person has an effect on another, that our false borders cannot stop the virus that does not need a passport. So this reminds me of Swami Vishnudevanji, who talked about this when he was doing these boundary breaking peace missions long, long ago. So in reality, we are one, regardless of our culture, our religion, our occupation, and our financial situation. So we can say that, but our human condition is separation. So I'm sorry, Priya Chaitanya, can you please tell this, the Vietnamese? They have no translation. Some problem there. Okay. So our human condition is separation. Then we can talk about unity, but really what you observe around is separation. We suffer from separation in all different levels. In our interpersonal relationships and globally, between nation and nation. And we all long for union. We need each other. And yet, we're constantly having conflict with each other, either in our families or in our trade laws and national identities and borders. We have conflict. So yoga teaches us that we are far more than our ego, and we are happier when we get out of our egoism. We all know that great feeling when we are one with somebody or a group, when we can let go of our individuality, and when we can feel oneness and not separateness. Separateness leads to a feeling of isolation, of not being supported or loved. Our suffering is based on the mistake to think that this separate personality is the one to be loved. But we forget that to get love, we have to offer love. And to love is to cease to be a separate personality. So our personal stories of love and split, and our collective history of war and peace, represent the ever-present drama of our karmic lessons.
Ê, em đã kiếm được wifi và đã quay trở lại rồi mấy anh chị ơi.
Okay. Okay. So I repeat again. So now we have translation Vietnamese. Our personal stories of love and split, and our collective history of war and peace, represent the ever-present drama of our karmic lessons unfolding. Experience as an individual or as a group. So what that means, karmic lessons. Karmic lessons mean that we are learning from our mistakes. And slowly we are coming closer to the truth of who we are. Nothing is by accident. People we encounter or circumstances that we find ourselves in are only opportunities for us to serve and to love. We receive the same lesson either from the point of view of the individual or from the point of view of a nation. We all evolve and come closer to the truth of who we are. So the yoga philosophy, called the Vedanta philosophy, teaches unity of consciousness. Means how to realize that we are like waves of the ocean, but the waves are not different from one another, and the waves and the ocean are one. So yoga philosophy helps us to free us from the suffering coming from this apparent duality. Not essential, not real, not true, but apparent duality. And this split we feel between self and others. Please. Sorry. So think about this. Selfless love is to be learned. So if we want a better life personally and a better world, we need to learn selfless love. So all our relationships are opportunities for us to learn selfless love. Selfless love means to see the self in others as well as in one's own self. It means not seeing the difference, but seeing the essence, the commonness that is one. Realizing our unity in diversity. Unity in diversity. This is a concept that we need to really understand. How to see the oneness and at the same time respecting our differences. So it is our belief in our separateness and individuality that makes us function in a selfish manner. We believe in a separate life and our ideal freedom in doing actions only out of our own will. We believe that our perception of who we are based on our personality is real. And we believe that the characteristics of our ego is our real value. So, what is that selfless love? We said that it is unconditional. So to achieve peace and unity, to heal ourselves and our humanity, we all need to learn that level of love that is selfless and unconditional. We need to cease to identify with our ego self, which can only lead us to conditional love, egoistic and selfish relationships. We need to learn to transform our emotions to pure love. Emotions come from our low mind and our subconscious mind, which carries impressions of habitual limited love of the past. Yoga teaches us to purify the lower mind and to activate our higher mind. Yoga methods teach how to transform our emotions into devotion or pure love. Emotion is not love. Think about it. Love is there. Love is at the root of all emotions, but emotions are not love. If we have a lot of emotions, we find that it is difficult to express and at the same time to repress. So we are caught in these two ways of being. To express our emotions, we can feel hurt. To repress our emotion is also not working. So people of emotional nature would need to do more, called the devotional yoga or bhakti yoga, to transform emotion. Hot water. Transformation of emotions is not what we are being taught. We are taught either to express or to repress. Both will lead to emotional problems. Yoga says that we need to develop our higher mind, our self-aware mind, in order to guide our lower emotions and to pay attention to justification using our intelligence to justify our basic desires and emotions. So a little bit complicated. I hope that you can translate. Okay, so I repeat again. We need to develop a higher mind, a self-aware mind. This is a higher mind, our conscious mind, to guide our lower emotions and to pay attention to the tendency to justify, means using our mind, our intellect, in fact, but to justify our basic desires and emotions. That makes things quite complicated. So emotions are a form of love, but distorted. Conditioned love and egoistic love lead to negative emotions instead of bliss. So let us recognize our common negative emotions experienced in relationships. Let us bear witness to the spiritual darkness and the egoism and abuse seen time and time again in families, in couples, in races, in religious groups, cultural groups, and nations. So we need to transform and convert our negative emotions to positive emotions, and from there to pure love. Let's go to the root of the negative emotions and learn ways how to be free from the sufferings coming from them. Let's apply this to your personal situation as well as to your relationship with a group or a nation. So now first we talk about anger. Anger comes from unfulfilled expectation or desire. So the antidote. So what's happening now with the Chinese translation? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So you see, I talk the individual problem and the group or nation problem the same way, because it is the same problem. Okay, so now we talk about the emotions. The first one is anger. So we need to understand that anger comes from unfulfilled expectations or desire. So if you are angry of somebody, you need to turn the gaze within yourself and find out why you're angry. What is it your expectation? What is it your desire? The antidote, how to take care of anger, is let go of expectation. It's difficult, but it's exactly the antidote. Be grateful for what you are and what you have. Learn to surrender and accept our differences so you don't have expectation. Let go of control. That means wanting things to go your way. Practice patience towards the self, your own self, and others. Calm down. Slow down your desire. Remember the self that is fulfilled and ever content. The true self. I mean, some level of yourself that is all the time content. So we need to learn to tune in. And through the process of yoga and meditation, you can do that. Can I have this pen? Fear. So fear is another important Fear is another important emotion. Fear comes from attachment and can be paralyzing in our forgetfulness of self. So when you have fear, you forget yourself. The forms of fear are fear of death, big time. Fear of being alone, another very big thing. Fear of public criticism. Fear of losing. Fear of past trauma and pain. Fear of separation, and so on. So when you have fear, remember, you forget yourself. You're paralyzed. You're limited. So I had the whole talk about fear and anxiety just recently. You can look it up. So the antidote of fear is the courage to face our fears and to be free from them. To have faith in oneself, in the universal intelligence, and the universal love and protection. And replace fear of detachment, which is the opposite of attachment, and be established or remaining in oneself. To practice self-inquiry, to remove habitual false identification and past wrong impressions that we are attached to that lead to fear. And to develop self-confidence based on one's own inner strength and not on the ego and to develop self-reliance means to be able to count on oneself and live self-sufficiently with oneself. So now, attachment. True love is not attached, but detached. Attachment comes from fears and anxieties. It comes with identification with some external traits of oneself, which we recognize in our friends and loved ones. Attachment makes us falsely feel stronger in our relationships. People can be attached with each other, and nations can have alliance with each other. Attachment separates and fails to see unity. From attachment comes our defensive mechanism and stress. Individually, we are stressed And as nations, we are stressed. We defend our way of life. We defend our borders. We defend our space, our opinions. So attachment leads to suffering under the disguise of binding relationships. But true love is warm, free, liberating, selfless, and detached. Detachment does not mean rejecting or not loving or not being strong, not knowing oneself. It means learning to see the higher truth about the reality which encompasses oneself and others. Is it okay, translation? It means, because it's difficult concepts, I repeat again, it means learning to see the higher truth. So what that means that when you are detached, you're not losing anything. But you are progressing, you go to another level of consciousness. You see a higher truth. So you gain something, you're not losing. Yeah, to see the reality which encompasses oneself and others. I mean, it includes everything. It's more inclusive. So you do not have to lose for someone to be happy. And no one has to lose for us to be successful. Individually, we need to open this true self, open to this true self, to this level of seeing, and collectively, we need to see or attempt to see oneness. The reality of the pandemic teaches us our unavoidable interdependence. Really very interesting to look. We realize our interdependence. So now, talk about hatred. Hatred comes from love turning in the wrong direction. It is the opposite of love. Again, the same logic applies. We hate what we think that is not ourselves, and we limit ourselves to certain idea we have about ourselves. So yoga philosophy acknowledges the root causes of our afflictions, the fact that our minds swing from love to hate, from attractions to repulsions, all due to our lack of higher understanding. We tend to blame externally for our miseries and project our blames and hatred to someone or to a country different than ours. We tend to not look inwards to realize the necessity to grow out of our limitations and to grow out of our intolerances. Understand intolerance? That means you are not open, you're not accepting something different than yours. So the antidote of hatred is to practice compassion. Nowadays, we need to practice compassion. See the self in others. Do selfless service. Instead of being afraid and thinking of scarcity, try to serve others. Practice love in action. Cease the blaming and the victim attitude. Share responsibility for caring of our environment, either our home or our planet. This will open the knots of the heart based on egoism and prejudices that corrupt love into hatred. Next is another obstacle to love, which is the idea of desires and passions that are obstacles to love and unity. So to find peace and love in our relationships and also in the world, we need to control our desires and passions, ingrained as our instinctive habits. Ingrained means really deep, coming from very long time habit, from our instincts. In the current situation in the world, we witness groups of people pleading to others to observe social distancing and not to go out to parties, to games, to entertainments, in order to save lives and help the health workers. It's really interesting to see this. Yeah, to see how now you can see the relationship between, if you are going to go and have a fun and have a good time in some party, some game, you will make some people suffer. So what a perfect illustration of interdependence. We all have to control our desires and passions, and we are forced to be calm, to go inwards, and to find higher form of enjoyment within ourselves. So now this is our test. That's what we have to do. We cannot be selfish and we cannot go so much outward. We have to go inward and we have to think of others. What a great lesson. So the antidote to desires, I list a few: devotion to the divine seen in others. So you turn that desire into devotion to the divine that you see in others. So be aware of our passions stemming from reproductive instincts. Try to keep pure motives. Try to identify less with the body and with the separate self that comes with the body. See yourself being part of a larger body, the body of humanity. Transform outward lustful instincts into selfless love for humanity and respect of all, men and women. The virus doesn't spare young or old. For young people, more restless and passionate, they need to practice yoga daily to sublimate the sexual energy and restlessness. So everyone try to eat calm food to control desires. If you eat animal flesh, it will reinforce this passionate tendency. Try to lead a harmless life, respectful of all creatures. So now, another point. Obstacle to peace, obstacle to love is our greed. So greed comes from our desire for safety and fulfillment that is twisted into an insatiable, illusory desire for material objects. So something in the tendency toward greed. You want more and more and more, and more than you feel more safe. You feel more important, more safe. But you cannot escape this fundamental existential question of who we are. We cannot feel safe in the material objects. Remove greed to find safety and fullness inside. Greed will destroy compassion, generosity, charity, altruism, and make us commit crimes against humanity. So the antidote is charity and giving, contentment, practice of gratitude, count your blessings, and renunciation, sacrifice. It is said that there is plenty for everyone's needs, but never enough for anyone's greed. Now, envy. Envy comes from lack of acceptance of our karma and what comes to us by God's will. A person can envy the other and compete with the other, becoming unhappy when the other is happy. So such competition exists also in the level of group or nation. So the antidote is acceptance, turning inward, not comparing, reminding yourself that everything is due to our own karma, that all is perfect. So learn forbearance and humility, learn our own unique lessons, don't compare to others.
Oh, Swamiji, there's a few
Yeah.
questions in the chat. Do you want to take them at the end, or do you want to look at it later?
Now, I still have a way to go. We start a little bit late, so we can
Okay.
chat a little bit.
So you want to read one question?
Yeah, you can read.
As far as
I don't-
detachment, in the current situation, how does one deal or handle the very real possibility of having to close the yoga studio? There's a real feeling of fear involved in that. How does one approach this, Swamiji?
Yeah, it's real and unreal, I'm sorry to say. It's real and unreal. I mean, to the level of yourself, then it's real. But to the level of a bigger picture, then it's not real in the sense that you can still teach yoga if your mission is to teach yoga, maybe in not that particular studio, but in different form.
Shivani is also asking for a 2-minute break when you get a chance.
Yeah. So just to answer the question, I mean, the idea is to our mind, our emotions, our personality, our life, that all this thing is real, and create anxiety, create problem, difficult to detach. But I'm talking from another point of view. That means to step back and see a bigger picture. See a bigger picture, so you see that actually, you know, nothing is by accident, that we can learn from this lesson, even though it's difficult. And we need to be creative, because when we don't have fear, then we can be creative. But if we are attached and we have fear, then we cannot be creative. So there is no other choice. We have to take things positively. And we are learning our lessons, difficult lessons of detachment. Okay. So the advice is like to see people that are worse than you. That's usually the advice. If you see somebody worse than you, then somehow you feel, you know, not too bad. So we would take a break. Okay, the translator need to take a break. We need to take a break. So only 2-3 minutes, please. Yeah, and then we can come back. Okay. So tell me when I need to start again.
Maybe 1 more minute, would you?
Okay. Om. So we start again. So somebody is asking, how can we calm our parents during this time because they don't practice yoga and don't want to listen to younger people? Well, sometimes we think that yoga is something big, but yoga is just simply breathing. So you can help your parents to do deep breathing. And relax.
There's one in the Q&A, Swamiji also.
What's the question?
She's a yoga teacher and a studio owner, and she wants to know how she handles students who disrespect the rules of the studio and make other students feel uncomfortable.
What kind of rules?
Maybe, I don't know if she's talking in the context of this situation, social distancing.
As a yoga studio owner, she has responsibility to take care of the safety and the well-being of everybody, so she has to speak up. Okay, so now we start over again, yeah? So where are we now? So in terms of personal relationship, well, sometimes there's a question of jealousy that comes from the sense of entitlement, the possession, exclusiveness in love relationships. So oftentimes jealousy is experienced when the beloved changes loyalty. It's difficult. But it's a lesson that we need to learn somehow to evolve our relationship into a more inclusive one. To practice forgiveness, practice generosity, practice giving. Okay, so now healing emotions. How to heal emotional wounds and free ourselves from negative mental patterns and suffering coming from past habits of conditional and selfish love. So to heal from emotional scar we all have, and emotional patterns we all have, we need to learn self-love or love of God. Self here is a big S, self. Self-love brings acceptance and makes the mind turn inwards to find happiness. Self-love or turning inward to find oneself will make you stronger. So you can be stronger, so you're not so needy, and then you'll be able to realize the love that is within you and that always have been there. That's your true nature. You're a loving person. Self-love is not egoistic. It is a lack of self-love and awareness that creates that pattern of being needy, the pattern of self-dependency, and makes you lose your peace and love. So self-love brings about self-respect. And also self-love comes from self-discipline. So devotion to the Supreme or to humanity as the divine manifestation, helps us to relax, to self-surrender, to become humble, to break through our egoistic limitation, okay, and our pattern. It helps us to surrender the ego, to accept and to heal our emotions. The current global crisis is a perfect opportunity now for people and for nations to become humble and to behave not individualistically, but humanistically or globally. So, how to practice love? When you say love, it's something, it's a feeling that is very unique to yourself, it's personal. But you need to recognize that that feeling starts from within. In our fast-paced, materialistic life, we kind of lose touch with it. So we need to get in touch with it again. We need to practice love in all our affairs, daily, in all our interactions. So maybe that is why now that some people have to stay home, have to spend more time with the families. We can start with love of our chosen ideal. So it's some soul searching you have to do. Find your chosen ideal, our chosen beloved in the cave of our own heart. If you don't have time and you all the time worry about survival and you don't care about this most intimate kind of relationship with yourself and with God, with the Creator, then it's difficult because you build the whole life and your relationships and your life around something that is not solid. So that's why it is said that you need to take time to turn inward. So the love of, we call it love of the chosen ideal, is the most intimate and sacred feeling and not a display or a social conformity. Love of that chosen ideal transcends religious conventions and rituals. It comes from within. It cannot be imposed from the outside. It is our own inner aspiration and longing for union. So attachment to any external form or religious symbols or ways is just a help, and it's not a goal in itself. But through practicing unconditional love towards your ideal, we learn to self-surrender. Let me let go of the ego and preconceived idea. And to transcend the external forms. Then we can come closer to God or to pure love itself. It's intricate because our chosen ideal is the quality that we seek in ourselves. We seek outside, but really we seek in ourselves. We seek that perfection in ourselves. So we might seek inner power, beauty, perfection, bliss, knowledge. You choose your ideal according to your own temperament, according to which aspect of the divine you feel the closest with. You can choose to see the Divine Mother as the Mother Nature, because she shows up in all names and forms. She's the energy underlying life. So you can see humanity that we're talking about. We see that humanity as her form. We can see her everywhere as the energy of intelligence, of knowledge, of creativity, of wisdom. She's also the energy sustaining life and health, the energy of peace and love and harmony, of beauty. She's also your own inner strength. She'll protect you from harm. She cares about you. So this is the time that we need to pray for her grace. In India, I believe now is the time that they start the 9 days of worship of Divine Mother in the spring. So start to see with a new eye that everything is her form. Her forms are countless. So when we see like this, then we start to develop respect. But respect other ways to truth. Names are many, but God is one. Paths are many, but truth is one. So you can practice the yoga relationships daily with all people that you encounter with. There is no other. There is nobody besides your own self. So see the other as your own self. Because all relationships are really relationships with your own high kind of thinking. So you don't see your neighbor even, you see your own self. In reality, there is no separation. And we are all learning love through being aware of our mental habits. Being aware that our mind all the time reproduce impressions of past relationships. We carry with us patterns learned in childhood. And also past lives. So yoga philosophy goes very deep. You talk about our past lives. I mean, our past habits can be very deep. So that's why sometimes our relationship karma is very difficult to resolve, very painful. Yogic teaching says that we choose our father and mother and life circumstances to learn our relationship lessons. We are learning to see the oneself beyond our ego interacting with each other. So we need to be disciplined in our heart and in our mind. Yeah, we are perfect inside, but we need to train our mind and our heart. We need to do self-inquiry. Okay. And be able to correct past patterns. We need to find our core relationship with love itself. I mean, instead of love this person, love that person, love this place, that place, we have a relationship with love. That means that we maintain that love feeling within ourselves all the time. Beyond names and forms. And that we can do only when we turn within, when we start to meditate. Okay, so now we end with this practical way how to make your daily life relationship better, transform this relationship into loving relationship. So according to classical yoga, there's 9 ways to practice devotion and to overcome egoism. Then we can practice. So number 1 is we need to develop our capacity to listen to others. To be present and just to listen without judgment. And also we need to learn to listen to ourselves as well. So number 1 is listening. The number 2 is we learn to praise others and look for their positive qualities. Also look for your own positive qualities. Because our mind tendency, oftentimes, we all the time look for the negative qualities of somebody and of ourselves. That doesn't help us to find the peace and the love. The number 3, and try to remember the presence, the true presence of a person that is divinity incarnate in your mind all the time. So try to pray for the people that you have loving relationship with. Feel that these relationships are sacred. Be very grateful for the people that you interact with in daily life. Don't take it for granted. The number 4, you need to do service to them with humility, actively serving. Either you like them or not. You just serve. And number 5, you need to learn to see the divinity in relationships. Give of your time and your presence, and give also a beautiful gift as if they are being offered to the divine. The number 6 is you need to give very much respect to the other that you encounter or the people surrounding you. So this is a question of prostration or great respect. seeing the divinity in them, the same as in you. So number 7. So people sometimes think wrongly. They think that everyone is equal. We don't need to, respect anybody. We need to just express ourselves, individuality. Fine and good. But we need also to see differently. If the goal that we are seeking is the happiness and the pure love, then you can learn to see the other person as divinity, and you learn to respect the other person. You do not lose anything. Actually, you gain from that sublime attitude. Number 7, we cultivate the feeling of being the servant of God. So this is attitude of self-sacrifice, like a mother that can self-sacrifice for the well-being of her child. Number 8, you cultivate the feelings of friendship with God. So you open your heart equal to all, without ulterior motives. Yeah. And discriminating who's higher and lower than you. So you see everyone as sacred, and you open your heart, you're sincere. You're not manipulating relationships. And number 9 is the stage of complete self-surrender. What that means? That means that you learn to accept all the things that are happening to you with equanimity and overcome your own expectations or judgment about anything done by yourself or others. So now some words of conclusion, and we have a little time for questions and answers. We still have 177 people here present. And remind you that you have the copy of this talk online that you can access and you can share. As the text will be uploaded as a part of the blog in the Yoga Farm website as well. And remind you, if you are pleased, if you don't mind, to donate to the Yoga Farm, as we are, non-profit organization. So now the conclusion. So it's like prayer. May we endeavor to maintain our remembrance of our true purpose, which is to return to a place of no suffering, through strength, wisdom, through trust and faith. In other words, we need to return to a place of fulfillment without desires. Be happy in our beingness, in ourselves. A place of love without selfishness. So that's my true prayer for everyone. Through selfless service and selfless love, may the whole world liberate itself from desires and greed. May we live in the spirit of karma yoga, I mean of giving, doing our duty And yet learning that the basic duty of finding love of self and love of others as one. So that is the basic duty of everyone. Finding love of yourself and finding love of others as one. Then uniting in that love. The self and others are not different. So may we improve in all our relationships, taking this opportunity of turning inwards and rethinking our values and priority. In our network of relationships now, may we all become great father, mother, daughter, son, teacher, husband, wife, student, friend, neighbor, boss, consumer, statesperson, leaders, servants of humanity and of the planet. That means in all our role, may we improve in our relationships. May the whole world attain peace and harmony. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityur mam amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnidasate Purnasaya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May peace be with you. Peace be with all the people connected to you. And may peace be with the whole world. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.
You want to
So,
take a few questions?
yeah, we have a few
So-
minutes.
The nice way is if attendees can put their hand up, and then we can bring you into the panelist room, and then you can ask your question live with your voice. Otherwise, you can type it into the Q&A box. But anybody who wants to come on live and talk to us, you can put your hand up from the option there in your Zoom. So the article we will be posting on our blog in the next day or so. So some people asking for the text, you can find it there. Someone is asking for you to repeat the third item again. They want to know the third.
I don't know
item.
which third item. There's a lot of third here, but you can look at the text in the blog. And somebody is asking for the 8 points. You also can see it in the article, and you can review also the YouTube video. There is some Chinese words here.
There's a question from the YouTube channel about why I should not call my mom.
Why I should not call my mom? You should call your mom. What is the question? The full question, please.
I guess it was out of context. I'm not sure. Maybe you said something like have a relationship with yourself. Don't always look out, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Chinese questions. And I can switch to the Chinese channel, and then if you can still hear me,
Yeah,
then Shivani can talk to me, and I can say.
we have Kumari here that can translate.
This is like when you talk to the friend is very sarcastic, like a very ironic
Sarcastic.
and sarcastic,
Sarcastic.
and the relationship between them is always full of like teasing, and her true nature is not bad, but she doesn't know how to talk to her, and recently she got sick, and this conversation is getting more serious. I don't know how to get along with her.
Okay. You know, relationship changes and people changes, and sometimes if the relationship is not flowing, then you need to let it be, let it cool down. Don't force, don't try too hard, but continue to be happy with yourself. If you can explain, if you can talk, you can communicate, you know, if you can say, you know, I love you, but I cannot communicate with you. Or you can just simply step back and let things pass, and things might change, it might not change. Then you let it be. Just don't try too hard. That's my answer. You have to be present. You have to be, you know, in your heart. You don't have any grudge, any problem. But if you cannot communicate and there's always some kind of negativity, then you have to let it be. You pray for the other person, but you will not try too hard.
That was the first.
Okay, any other question?
It's the same.
There's one in English there. The second one in Chinese has been answered.
It's the same.
Same.
Yeah.
It's
It's
the
the same.
same.
So the English question, what is the feeling of true love? How does love, does it have some form or image? How does it influence our energy?
If you have a true feeling of love, you feel happy right away. You feel uplifted, you feel expanded, you feel fulfilled, you feel meaning to your life. You feel free, you feel liberated, you feel acceptance. Okay, so I hope it answers.
Someone on YouTube asked about they broke their mala bead doing japa. What is the significance of that?
So don't worry about this. I broke a lot of malas because I used them a lot, so I broke them. So you keep them on the altar, and you get new one. There's no big significance, so don't worry about that. Your love is remaining, your devotion is remaining the same, and the mala is your tool to focus. Okay. Any other question?
That's it. Chelsea, do you have a question? She just asks where to ask the question. She said, I never feel peace in my loving relationships. They always bring me anxiety. I think this is because of my past conditioning. How can I fix that?
Yeah. So you have that pattern of we call neediness, and you have the fear of separation. It since a very long time. They said it can come to our childhood. So the only way how you can deal with it is to focus inward, focus in yourself, to be strong, not to be afraid of losing, be afraid of not being loved, not being perfect enough to be loved. All these things will create anxiety. So if you can keep doing yoga, doing meditation, doing self-affirmation, I am love, remember that you are love itself. You don't need anybody else to love you in order for you to feel loving. And then you need to be more self-reliant, less dependent, less wanting to prove. And then at that time, you would be less anxious. Then you can be yourself. Then at that time, you can find enjoyment in your own self, because the anxiety itself is a problem. You can never really enjoy yourself, but you're all the time anxious. Fear of losing, fear of not being perfect. So become stronger in yourself, then that's the way to go. Okay.
One Vietnamese question there.
They say they have some kind of pendant that is in stone with the Buddha, and they said that you should not wear it when you are taking shower, when you're in the same room. So I lose a question now. And then the person is find it difficult, so they don't use it anymore. So they ask what to do. So what to do is you have to solve the problem. If you listen to somebody that say this and say that, and then you cannot really take you cannot really use of your stone that is your sacred own property that reminds you of the sacredness, then that's your problem. So you decide that you don't listen to it, and you create an altar in your own room, yeah, and then you can take care of it, help you. That it's a life relationship. Otherwise, you just leave that thing there because you're afraid that you cannot this, you can that, and you cannot use it. It doesn't help you. Okay. Of course, when you are taking bath, and you don't need to wear it, but you can have an altar and have it there, and have a life relationship, with the sacred symbol. Okay, so then somebody else question here. The stress of being an independent contractor with no safety net is anxiety provoking living in San Francisco. How can I get my emotional being to feel okay? I listen to words, they make sense. How I can get myself to believe and feel all that is said. Yeah. It's so again we come back to the sense of feeling anxious and feeling insecure. So our livelihood, our survival, I can understand that. It's a very basic feeling. So what I'm talking about in this whole thing is something that is like a big perspective about things. You know, how as a person and as a nation that we need to purify our mind and emotions for us to feel ourselves and feel happy. Yeah, so you need to ask, you can start first to ask yourself the question, you know, um, about your quality of life, your quality of relationship, your quality of love. So you can find this comforting kind of feeling within you, then it would make you feel quite fulfilled and less anxious about survival. And about survival, then you need to, you know, learn to be, I know it's not easy, but learn to lead a simple life and think about, you know, how you can live a simple life and be okay, and see that, you know, try to see that the nature is giving you a lot of joy. Yeah, and try to change your mode of, or your way of lifestyle, or your way of feeling fulfilled into something that is more natural. Yeah, like being in nature, have some simple pleasure living in nature, or something like this. Then you spend maybe less money and you need less. So something just to change and to adjust to the situation, so you don't feel, you know, dependent, anxious, and it remove your quality of life and make you feel unhappy. Yeah, so it's all linked together. I know it's a difficult question, but we have to face that. Nowadays, that's what we have to face. And have very important point, I think, is that you don't you try to control the anxiety and the doubt in order for you to be creative. That's a line that I repeat a lot. Because when you are creative, you are with yourself. Yeah. And with that, the present is in your hands. So you're not comparing to anything. Yeah. And so then you feel more secure when you are in the present, and you know that your own intelligence can create new situation, yeah, for you. And you develop also the trust and faith. When you don't have that worry, you can have the trust and faith, then everything happened for the best, and you would find always some other solution. Okay, so the positive thinking is a very important thing that you need to practice now, so that you can feel okay. Okay, so you can do self-affirmation, you can write down sentences. Yeah, I am loved by the universe, I am protected, I am, you know, I am abundant, and you know, I am creative, something like this. So then you don't feel negative. And when you don't feel negative, then you find somehow ways how to live life, because life still continue no matter what. Okay, so I see there's 5 more messages here.
Katya, maybe next.
Katya, yeah, she asked about knowing a person. Can I feel true love with the energies only? How do we fall in love and choose to love? These are big questions you ask. I mean, you know, so what I'm saying is you have to start from yourself, from inside. So you can say it is an energy, yes, it's a feeling, it's an energy, yeah, and you have to cultivate inside, yeah. And then when you have that inside of you, then you can see it outside of you. At that time you can see a person. I will not use the word fall in love, because the word fall in love feel very contradictory to me, because when you love, you rise yourself, you're not falling. Okay, so this idea of fall in love is a wrong concept, that when you love somebody, you have to lose yourself. Yeah, And it's not like that. You have to love somebody and you find yourself. You find the other person and you find yourself. So the idea is you have to find something deeper in the other person. You find something deep in you. Somebody say, difficult to make a decision what to do. I don't know what kind of decision.
Swamiji, you broke up for that last.
Sometimes you have different conflicts within you that you cannot. That makes you that you cannot make decision. Yeah. So you need to wait. Okay. If you say stop my video.
It's the Wi-Fi.
It seems to work much better. I just was testing it out, but the last 2 or 3 minutes we couldn't hear you.
Okay. So somebody is saying that it's difficult to make decision what to do. So I'm saying if you cannot make decision, then you need to wait. You need to think about it a little bit more. Yeah. And you are not panicking, you are not worrying, but you need to just trust that within you there will be the answer, and then the right time will come to make decision. Okay, so that's happening all the time. And somebody
Someone is
else,
asking about a book, any book you recommend?
any book
on this-
about relationships?
Yeah.
I myself, I don't know a book on yoga relationships, the way how I interpret it, but all the Vedantic teaching, yoga philosophy teaching that talk about the true nature of the self will be helpful. You need to have a teacher. If you can come to a teacher that can help you to purify your mind with yoga practices and then teach you about the true nature of the
All right. So I think Swamiji's internet not the best today. We're past our time slot anyway, so maybe we just finish with the prayer. Is Priya Chaitanya there? Swamiji's okay with that? We finish now? Oh. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mritur Mukshamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mritur Mukshamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mritur Mukshamamritat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bolo Satguru Shivananda Maharaj ki jai. Bolo Shri Vishnu Devananda Maharaj ki jai. Om Namah Shivaya. So I think Priya Chaitanya is just checking with Swamiji. So let's just see if she wants to say anything else. Otherwise, all the attendees, still 114 people here. We'll announce another webinar soon. Swamiji is trying to do every Sunday and Wednesday evening, so 6 p.m. every Sunday and Wednesday. So we'll notify you about the topics for the next webinars as well. We also have yoga classes online, so if anyone wants to join the yoga class from the ashram, you can do that. Or you can join, we're doing some courses also, like Joy of Kirtan course from LA Center, every afternoon, 2:30 to 4. And meditation course with Swami Dharmananda every evening, 7 to 8:30. So you can let us know if you want to join any of those. Okay, Priya, we finished now? Okay, thank you everyone. Om Namah Shivaya. Bye, Japan.